Hi everybody, it's Alex Newton from K-lytics, today with a special feature about female protagonist thrillers. So let's have a look. I got a very good question, very interesting question from a K-lytics member today. Are female protagonist thrillers saturated, meaning too many books for too few readers? To assess this question, you always have to look at two sides, the supply of books and the demand of books. Let's start with demand. One indicator of demand is the Amazon bestseller list for the category Mystery Women Sleuths. I wish there was a dedicated category for female protagonist thrillers, but there isn't. There are plenty of thriller bestseller lists, many mystery bestseller lists. This is as close as it can get with a category. And you see, over the last 5 years, the average sales rank for that category has been on an upward trend. So very positive. And just by way of comparison, the overall thriller category would be around the 50 sales rank, average sales rank 50 mark here. So this is really here in the very top of the Kindle store. Now, since there is no dedicated female protagonist thriller category, let's see whether Google is of help. Of course, Google searches are much more about exploration than about purchasing anything. And in fact, if you type in the search female protagonist thriller, any keyword tool would say there aren't enough searches to display anything, especially here on Google Trends. Now, if you just do female protagonist and type it in with quotation marks as an exact phrase, match search, and look at the search volume trend over the last 5 years, we see that it has been flat between 2015 and say 2019, and ever since it's been on a rise and pretty volatile here throughout 2020. Bit decline here to where we are now, and the estimates are these would be based on Google AdWords about 1,700 searches per month in December here in absolute terms. The graph here is indexed. The 100 at the top would be the maximum ever achieved over the last 5 years. So two, in my mind, positive demand indicators. How about supply? Well, if you type in female protagonist thriller, first of all, the good news is if you put it in, it also comes as a suggestion by Amazon. And you see here, female protagonist, higher in search volume would be sci-fi, fantasy, but then comes thriller here. So let's put it in. Overall, the search term comes up with some 10,000 results in total. Many of these will obviously be dead books from many years ago. So what does this tell us? Well, what you can do is, if you scroll a bit further down on the left-hand side, you can click on last 30 days. And this will tell you that over the last 30 days, in 1 month, 167 books were published with female protagonist thrillers in some shape or form as a keyword or as a descriptive term, something that Amazon indexed for with this term. And by the way, what you can also do is check how much of that book supply per month of the 167 were published using Kindle Unlimited. Here we go, 96 books, which makes it 71 non-KU. And here we have those 167 here as a result of the 96 KU books, 71 non-KU books for the last 30 days here, month of November, December 2020. And this search result for female protagonist thriller is a gauge of book supply. In fact, it is the exact book supply number that you get as an addition for 1 month. And what we did here is went back 5 years, and every little bar, stacked bar here is the result of, say, back in 2015, about half and half Kindle Unlimited non-KU books were published. And you see the rate of publishing of female protagonist thriller went up all the way here to, say, mid-fall 2019, then sort of leveled off in 2020. And here the publishing activity has dropped back down. So let's take supply and demand together. So now we plot the Google search interest here in red for the female protagonist exact match search as some gauge of demand, not an exact gauge, and plotted against the exact growth of demand, supply month by month in the blue bars. So what does this tell us? Well, if I put some numbers, some lines through here, as just said, the demand was sort of stagnant from 2015 to 2019, and then the trend line, it has been actually shooting straight up into vertical here all the way to, say, when Corona starts striking. This is probably the month of April, May, June here. And then it dropped down during summer, sort of stabilizing now, but the trend is clearly up. Now, for the supply side, you could put a straight line trend all the way here through 4 years of from 2015, second, third, fourth, 5 years. And then here we have in 2020 a decline. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells me that during this phase here up until 2019, we had growing supply, but we had pretty stagnant demand, at least from a Google search interest point of view. So one could argue that probably here the market was even more saturated than it is right now. Then we have here clearly a increase in demand, and at this point in time actually a decline in the rate of book supply. And you see here, while about more than a year back we had about 250 novels of the kind coming out every month, we are now down to the before mentioned 160, 170 a month. So is the market saturated? These numbers wouldn't necessarily tell me that it is, and I think the high selling female sleuth, female detective category also is a very positive indicator. By the way, what you can also do, you could go without even typing anything. You could just click return on Kindle ebooks. Now, from Kindle ebooks, we could maneuver to, this is also another trick here for especially mystery, thriller, suspense. Let's go to the mystery, thriller, suspense category. So let's say we don't even want to confine it to thriller, female protagonist thriller, but be a bit more open. Now, for this big category, Amazon does ask publishers here for certain flags, you could say, for characters, for settings. Now look here, there is a flag for female protagonist. And if you ask me, the type of books displayed now here, say Kendra Elliott, Melinda Lee, very high selling authors, Montlake authors, the type of books presented now, if we leave just thriller and opening it up to also mystery, perhaps even romantic suspense, here, Robert Dugoni, Tracy Crosswhite, very successful series, female protagonist, mysteries and thrillers, some suspense titles in there. It seems to me that the books displayed using this flag here are even better than the ones when you type in female protagonist thriller. What I wanted to say is, if you feel that market, female protagonist thriller, is getting saturated, if you look at some of these higher selling and very popular ones, you could argue, well, perhaps a positioning of towards female protagonist, say mystery, FBI mystery, those seem to be potentially from the sales side a bit more potential, but obviously also get a bit more crowded. But this graph here is probably as much as you can get out of numbers for such a niche market. I hope it gives you also some feel how you can look at supply and demand on the Amazon website, and also where necessary, look into Google. Given this uprising trend here, then the decline in book supply per month, combined with this very good sales performance of this cousin genre or cousin category, we will definitely update also our female detectives and sleuths report. And mind you, one last comment here to the positioning of thriller versus mystery. Well, look here, amongst the top 500 titles back then, about 35% of the top 500 books were cozy. The vast majority was non-cozy type of female detectives, female protagonist books. And in there, if you look at the top selling items here, just some covers, I think there's clearly an argument for that the female protagonist mystery and suspense part of the market is probably bigger than the female protagonist thriller part of the market, from both a demand and supply point of view. All right. If you're not a K-lytics member yet or need to renew your membership, come check us out, K-lytics. We do the research for you. I hope you enjoyed this, answering the question on female protagonist thrillers as an example for how to gauge supply and demand in a market niche. This is Alex Newton from K-lytics, ebook market intelligence for success.